If a house is just wood and stone, why did a family of refugees leave within weeks? Why did a news crew refuse to re-enter its garage? And why did 3 young men leave behind a camera that recorded only static and whispers? This is the unresolved mystery of the house in Prisap. In the early 2000s, a small rural village in Bosnia and Herzegovina briefly attracted attention from local journalists, paranormal investigators, and curiosity seekers. The village was called Prisap, population under 300. The house stood alone along a narrow road just outside the settlement. Abandoned, partially damaged, marked by a large cross fixed to its exterior wall. The red glass embedded in the cross had been shattered years earlier. Locals called it simply the House of Terror. Not because of folklore, because of what people claimed to hear inside it, and because of what happened to those who tried to stay there. The house was built before the war in the early 1990s by a man named Marko Marchenko, originally from Prnjavor. He had married a woman from the area and purchased the property as a family home. According to neighbors, the family lived there for less than a year. They left abruptly. Some say they moved to Germany. Others claim they relocated to coastal Croatia. What is documented is that the house remained empty after their departure. During the Bosnian War, displaced families from Jajce temporarily occupied the building. Their stay lasted approximately 1 month. They also left. No official complaint was filed. No police reports were made public. But villagers later stated that the families fled because of unexplainable events inside the house. That is when the stories began. Throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s, residents living within several hundred meters of the property reported screams at night. The sound of something heavy being dragged across floors, knocking inside walls. What they described as a child crying in the attic. The house had no electricity, no running water, no active residents. Yet multiple witnesses reported activity after midnight. One elderly neighbor told a regional reporter in 2003, "You don't walk past that house at night. The sounds don't belong to animals." Another added, "It doesn't sound like wind. It sounds like someone trying to get out." One detail made the house stand out. The cross mounted to its exterior wall. It was large, hand-constructed, inlaid with red glass. According to longtime residents, placing crosses on homes was not a custom in that region. No one could explain why it had been installed. More unsettling was its condition. The red glass pieces embedded in the wood were shattered, not cleanly broken, but splintered outward, as if struck from inside. No one could confirm when the damage occurred. Some claimed it happened during the refugees' stay. Others insisted it appeared later. No official documentation exists. In 2004, a small regional news crew visited Prisap after repeated rumors began circulating online. They entered the property during daylight. Photographs show collapsed interior beams, broken windows, debris scattered across stone flooring, a staircase leading to a darkened upper level. According to archived accounts, one photographer attempted to document the attic. His digital camera stopped functioning. New batteries, fully charged. Device unresponsive. It powered on again once outside the property. The crew later dismissed it as a technical malfunction. However, that was not the only issue reported. One crew member allegedly experienced nausea and dizziness while inside the garage structure attached to the house. He stepped outside and refused to re-enter. The footage shot inside was never publicly broadcast in full. Only exterior shots aired. When later contacted, the station claimed the interior footage was unusable due to lighting and audio issues. The most serious reported event occurred in late October 2008. 3 young men from a nearby town decided to spend the night inside the house. They brought flashlights, a handheld camcorder, and sleeping bags. According to one of them, who later spoke anonymously, the atmosphere inside changed after midnight. At approximately 12:40 a.m., they reportedly heard rhythmic knocking coming from beneath the floorboards. Not random, patterned. 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks. They searched the lower level. No source found. Around 1:15 a.m., one of the men claimed to hear whispering directly behind him while standing near the staircase. He turned. No one was there. At 1:27 a.m., the camcorder battery drained completely. It had been fully charged before entry. Moments later, one of the men ran outside. He later stated, "I thought someone was standing in the hallway upstairs. It wasn't one of us." They left the property before 2 a.m. The following day, one of them reportedly developed a high fever. No infection was found. The footage from the camcorder contains 11 minutes of usable recording. The final minute consists of heavy, static, distorted audio. No visual confirmation of any entity exists. In 2012, a civil engineer briefly examined the property at the request of local authorities. His assessment: severe structural instability, natural acoustic echo caused by hollow wall cavities. Wind pressure could create amplified sound through broken window frames. He concluded that environmental factors could explain some reported noises. However, he also noted something unusual. The interior stone walls contained hollow vertical channels, not consistent with original architectural plans. He could not determine the origin. He recommended the building be sealed. It was not. One former refugee family member agreed to speak in 2016. They had lived in the house briefly during the war. She stated, "The noises started after the first week. That night it sounded like someone moving in the attic. When asked whether they investigated, she said, 'There was no electricity. We had candles. We did not go upstairs.' After 3 weeks, she claimed her younger brother began waking up screaming. He described dark shapes near the ceiling. The family left shortly after. Medical records confirm the brother experienced night terrors. No long-term diagnosis was documented. Over time, the house became part of regional folklore. But unlike typical haunted house legends, this case contains multiple independent witness accounts, media documentation, a structural evaluation, physical evidence of attempted religious protection, and yet no official paranormal investigation was ever completed. Local authorities classify the property simply as abandoned and unsafe. No criminal activity was ever formally recorded there, no bodies, no disappearances directly tied to the location, only reports, repeated reports. Skeptics argue isolated rural properties amplify natural sounds. Expectation bias influences perception. Group psychology intensifies fear. These are reasonable explanations, but they do not address the repeated equipment malfunctions, the consistent timing of reported activity between midnight and 2 a.m., the similar descriptions from unrelated individuals over a span of years. No coordinated narrative appears to exist between witnesses. Descriptions vary slightly, but the core details remain consistent. Sounds, movement, presence. The house still stands, more deteriorated now. The cross remains, the red glass never replaced. Trespassing continues occasionally. No confirmed recent incidents have been publicly recorded, but residents still avoid passing it after dark. When asked directly whether they believe the house is haunted, most villagers respond carefully, not with certainty, not with denial, but with distance. One local man put it this way: "Maybe nothing is there, but something made people leave." No official file lists Prisap's abandoned house as a paranormal case. There is no government report concluding supernatural activity. There is no verified evidence of a non-human presence. What exists instead is something more difficult to categorize. A location repeatedly associated with fear. A structure that empties itself. A pattern of short stays followed by abrupt departures. The house was built to be lived in. It never was. And for more than 2 decades, no one has successfully remained inside it overnight without incident. Cases like this rarely provide dramatic proof. There are no photographs of entities, no audio recordings of clear voices, no viral footage. What makes them unsettling is not spectacle. It is persistence. If the sounds were wind, why did multiple occupants leave within weeks? If the cross was decorative, why was it installed in a region without that tradition? If it is only an abandoned building, why does it continue to draw attention long after its owners disappeared from the story? The house in Prisap remains officially unoccupied, uninvestigated, unexplained. And until someone stays there long enough to prove otherwise, the reports will continue. Not because they are sensational, but because they never fully stopped.